public servants deliver an extraordinary range of services that help South Australians in their daily lives, and do so without seeking reward or recognition. Today, we celebrate individuals and teams across the South Australian public sector, living the public sector values and striving to deliver exceptional outcomes for our state. Welcome to the Premier's Excellence Awards. Please welcome your MC, Erma Ranieri, Commissioner for Public Sector Employment.
Well, I knew I was going to do it, but we got the red carpet event and it's really special and it's great to see you all here. Can everyone put their hands together for all these amazing finalists in the room? Thank you. This is the 2023 Premier's Excellence Awards. It's also International Women's Day, so happy International Women's Day to everyone. Let's keep doing the great things that we do to make the South Australian Public Service not only equitable from a gender perspective, but as diverse as the community that we serve. So happy International Women's Day as well. Yes, a round of applause for that, I think. I'd like to invite Ashum Owen up to the stage to give us the welcome to country. Welcome, Ashum.
Nankana mirna gaunalia napadlalia jungandalia yakandalia kuma nainari Ashum yalubina Owen ngadlu garna yatanga imbarindi ngadlu garna mirna tampandi namani. Good, this side was a bit louder, you fellas. You know what that means? Or all right, for anyone who doesn't know, namani in Ghana means are you good? And if you're good, you say mani I. So namani, deadly. My name is Ashum Yalubina Owen. I'm a proud Ghana, Naranga and Ngarrindjeri woman. I'm from a group called Nunki-Warta. Nunki-Warta in Ghana means the women's voices. We came together as a Ghana female-led collective to elevate and to amplify the voices of women and to magnify the existence of the matriarchy here on Garniata. I'd like to acknowledge that today and every day we meet on the stolen, unceded and unreconciled lands of the Ghana people. Ghana people have sat and stood sovereign for over 65,000 years. Our men hunted on this land, our women birthed babies on this land. Together we cared and protected for country, looked after our elders, and we buried them back in the soil when they passed on. And we will continue to do so until our last sunset. I'd like to pay respects to all my elders, all the Ghana that were, all the Ghana that are, all the Ghana yet to come, and also extend that respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people from other nations gathering on Garniata today. I did introduce myself, but Yarlubina in Ghana means the lover of the ocean. And I'm really honoured to be able to share Ghana language with you, such an important piece of work that's being done around the Adelaide Plains. But we are gathered here today to celebrate excellence and to also recognise that it is International Women's Day. So it's an honour to be here, to represent not only Ghana women but Aboriginal women. I also want to acknowledge that when we talk about excellence and we talk about Black excellence, obviously we are celebrating and honouring and remembering one of the greatest Aboriginal women and pioneers of our community, Dr. Loacha O'Donoghue today, her state funeral. And I think when we think about Black excellence and the things that Arnie achieved, the things and the barriers that she was able to break down over her lifetime, and think about the legacy that she's left for us. Absolutely formidable leader, I really thank Arnie for the work that she has done for Aboriginal people. She was, I'm sure you all are aware of her achievements, but as one of the first, Aboriginal women to gain a qualification in nursing and to lead one of the wards here at the Royal Adelaide Hospital, to sitting on the ATSIC committee, and all of the amazing things that she fought for us. So I just really pay my respects to family today, and that state funeral for her. And being International Women's Day, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge all of the amazing women in my life and, the powerful, staunch Aboriginal women that raised me as part of my village, my mum's village. I wouldn't be the woman that I am today without their support and encouragement and guidance. So I really do honour them, honour the women that are in this room today as well, and all the work and the achievements that you have made. And, you know, I guess acknowledge that International Women's Day is one day that we can celebrate women, but we should be celebrating women every day. And we can start doing that by ensuring that there's more, you know, women in leadership roles, women in executive roles, in management, women represented across the board. We can celebrate women every day by ensuring that there's actually representation and diversity in our sectors, and that's really important. So thank you so much. Manina Budni, Ghana Yatana Padni Padni Mabuki Mukabandu. It's good that we've all come and gathered on Ghana country today, but I ask that as we live, work, play and exist on the lands of the Ghana people, that we never forget our old fellas that came before us, our ancestors, because their spirit still lives amongst the roads, the concrete, the steel and the lawn. I'm going to teach you 2 more words before I head off. The first word is Ngachalya. Can you say Ngachalya? Ngachalya is our word for thank you. And can you say Nakrada? Nakrada is our word for goodbye, but really it means see you soon or see you again, because we believe our paths will always cross in this life or the next. I don't know, I have a short time up here, but I'm going to do one more thing with you because I think it's really important to, you know, reclaim that space and time. Has anyone seen Nunki Wada do a welcome before? Some? Yes, all right. So you'll know what the Landshaker Spirit Waker is. I'd like to invite those who are willing and able to stand with me. We're going to stomp our feet and clap our hands. And what this is representative of is the relationship that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have with country. And I want us to remember that the relationship that we have with country is reciprocal. It's 2 ways. And that country has looked after us, sustained us, and protected us since time immemorial. And Aboriginal people have been doing the same for country. And, you know, we've been doing that for up to 80,000 years in some parts of this continent. But in the last 230 years, we've shared this space together, which means that we now have a shared collective responsibility to look after country, to ensure that we protect country, protect its resources, protect the relationship that Aboriginal people have with country, because it's so integral to our well-beings. You know, and to ensure that our children of today, who are our future leaders, and our elders of tomorrow, will be able to be passed on the custodianship, because that's their inherent birthright as sovereign people in this country. So we're going to start clapping our hands, stomping our feet, and I want us to think about that shared collective responsibility, and also when our foot lifts the ground and returns back to ground, I want us to think about that reciprocal relationship that is our connection to country. So. Thank you. Natalia Nakrada, International Women's Day. Thank you.
For that wonderful welcome and getting us moving as well. Thank you so much. I also want to pay my respects to the Ghana people, and that we certainly recognise elders past, present and emerging. And Ashwin, you are one of those future leaders. I'd like to give a warm welcome to our Premier, Peter Malinauskas. I'd also like to give a very warm welcome to our individual and team finalists joining us. You should be very proud of being recognised today, and as you can see, every year the awards become bigger and better. We have had a record number of people putting in to the awards, and the number of finalists have grown significantly. If you haven't had the opportunity before the event to view the finalists gallery next door, please take time to do so. You can do that after the event over tea and coffee. Each of our finalists will also be presented with a certificate, which you can collect after the ceremony in the gallery. Welcome and thank you to all our judging panel, quite a diverse group of people who were tasked with the challenging role of evaluating the exceptional and record number of nominations. The numbers were 180 from more than 30 agencies, the biggest we've had. Welcome also to all our guests across the sector. We're thrilled to have such a big representation from different agencies today. I want to give a final thank you to my office who have done the organising, to Department of Premier and Cabinet who support us in this event, and of course to the IPA South Australia staff. They all work together to make sure that this is delivered in the way that we're delivering it. In terms of mobile phones, can you just put them on silent? And if there's an emergency and we need to evacuate, just follow the Adelaide Convention Centre staff. But without further ado, I'd like to do an introduction to our Premier, the Honourable Peter Malinauskas MP, 47th Premier of South Australia. A firm believer in the importance of family and community, Peter has spent much of his professional life working with employees and employers in the retail industry to find a balance that benefits all South Australian families and workers. Prior to entering the Legislative Council, Peter was the State Secretary of the Shop, Distributive and Allied Employees Association. In this role, he led the campaign for part-day public holidays on Christmas and New Year's Eve. Peter served in the Weatherall government as Minister for Health, Mental Health and Substance Abuse. Prior to this appointment, he was Minister for Police, Correctional Services, Emergency Services and Road Safety. Peter was elected as the member for Croydon at the 2018 state election. In his spare time, if he has any, he can be found at any Port Adelaide game, probably most of them, and also playing football for his team, Adelaide Uni, the Blacks, I think. Peter also has a great love of his family, his wife Annabelle. He has 2 daughters, Sophie and Eliza, and 2 sons, Jack and George. Welcome, Premier.
Thanks very much, Erma, and thanks to your office for the coordination of today's event. Can I acknowledge all of my colleagues here today, which is pretty much everybody, but particularly executive leadership team members. I do want to also pay my respects to the Kaurna people, the traditional custodians of this land, for over 60,000 years, for their welcome to country. Pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. This event is actually quite important. I feel very privileged to have the responsibility associated with this job. But one of the things that comes with it is countless awards nights and functions and events. And each of them are important in their own right. Most of them are from the private sector. Every industry, you name it, every industry has got an awards night and they celebrate success. But rarely do we do that in government. Rarely do we do that in the public sector. Rarely does it get the acknowledgement that it deserves. And this is an occasion where we get to do that in a far more humble environment than often what we see in the alternative. And it's an opportunity for me, more than anything else, to express on behalf of the government and the political and cabinet architecture of government our gratitude for the work that you are doing. If I had to sort of try and distill it simplistically, the way I sort of see this role is you could be broken up into 2 different parts. There's the really cool and exciting stuff. And what I'm talking about there is the big picture ambitions that the government has for the future of our state, particularly at such a potentially defining moment for the future prosperity of so many generations of South Australians with us now and to come in the future. I do get the sense, and you might say I would say this, but I do get the sense there is an unbridled optimism in South Australia at the moment in a way that we were probably unaccustomed to a decade ago. That speaks to the opportunity that we've got before us, and government's role is to unlock that opportunity, to invest in outcomes that ensure that opportunity descends to as many people as possible rather than just the few. And to that end, the government does have a big agenda, an agenda that you are delivering. Whether it be the State Prosperity Project, which is the bringing together of our hydrogen jobs plan being delivered by government, for government, i.e. for people, the potential of the Northern Water Project, what we're doing around green iron and everything in the Upper Spencer Gulf. That's a big picture policy that has the ambition of having an impact over decades to come. There is what we're seeking to achieve through a substantial revitalisation in what we do in public education, including the biggest increase in public education service delivery we have seen in this state in 50 years, by adding, in essence, another whole year level to preschool education. Looks like adding another whole year of public education through the pursuit and the delivery of universal access to 3-year-old preschool on the back of the Royal Commission that was completed last year, right through to what we're doing in re-establishing technical colleges in our high schools, a well-resourced, revitalised, publicly run TAFE, and then, of course, the university amalgamation. It's a comprehensive agenda that you are delivering. There's everything that we're seeking to achieve in health, a massive challenge, a mind-bogglingly complex challenge, but not one that is insurmountable. And notwithstanding the challenges around TOC and ramping, what we have been able to see is a dramatic reversal in ambulance response times thanks to our ambulance service. And I could go on and on about so many of the bigger picture ambitions that the government has that you are delivering. That's the cool stuff. It's exciting. It gets you out of bed in the morning. But then there's all the other work that doesn't necessarily get the headlines unless something goes wrong. You know, when we go to those private sector events, we acknowledge, we applaud, and we rightfully celebrate risk-taking from the private sector, because without it, our economy wouldn't be as vitalised and as diverse as it is today. Those entrepreneurs who lead private enterprise take risks, often risking their own capital in order to be able to deliver opportunity to others in the form of employment. It's excellent, and we should acknowledge and celebrate it. But sometimes there's an irritation I experience when we talk about celebrating risk in the private sector, because there's an inference sometimes in the debate and the tone that somehow the public sector doesn't take risks. Well, give me a break. The truth is, that's what we do every single day. In fact, we take up all the risks that the private sector won't touch. I don't see the private sector running into a burning home to put the fire out. I don't see the private sector running to respond to the aid of someone experiencing a threat of violence in the way that SAPOL do. And in an emergency service, you could go on and on. I don't see the private sector locking up our most hardened criminals. I don't see the private sector walking into highly vulnerable homes and taking away children from their parents. I don't see the private sector investing huge amounts of effort and energy in Category 1 schools in the same way that the public sector does. So we take on the risk that no one else will. So that, of course, means things go wrong. That's the nature of risk, and that ends up on the front page of the paper. But what doesn't end up on the front page of the paper is the incomprehensible volume of work that is ground out, day in, day out, in the pursuit of something as humble as genuine public service. See, people who are attracted to work in these roles, we know aren't doing it for the money. They're doing it because they actually want to care and deliver a better life for people often in the most vulnerable circumstances of all. And it's not just the grind of the day-to-day service delivery. What we celebrate today is the excellence in the execution of that. The excellence of where people have the courage to take on an even heightened level of risk and just do it a little bit differently. Tinker, innovate in the pursuit of actually just trying to make things a little bit better. Now, if that's not worth celebrating, then I'm not too sure what is. So to each and every one of you that have contributed that effort, found yourselves nominated in the pursuit of that excellence, I express my gratitude. But really far more powerful than that is the gratitude that your fellow South Australians have day in, day out, without you necessarily knowing about it. There is a degree of consciousness of the work that you do that sometimes you might not necessarily realise. And I hope today you have a degree of satisfaction that comes with it, but most of all I hope that even in the toughest moments you have a high degree of satisfaction from the work that you do writ large in the service of others. Thank you very much.
Hope you don't mind standing up, Premier, but your lunch is over there, but I think we're ready to roll with the awards. So we're going to get straight into it, and I'm delighted to introduce the finalists for our first category, Emerging Young Talent. This award is for individual under the age of 30 who has demonstrated excellence, passion, commitment and action towards making a positive difference to the lives of South Australians. And the finalists are...
We've discovered a drug that we can repurpose to try and improve the vaccine response in transplant recipients. We give this drug to patients, and this basically is able to restore their immune response to the vaccine. When they go out and encounter that infection in the real world, their immune system has a chance of fighting off the infection.
I work on making the Department of Human Services a more inclusive place for diverse people. Rainbow Tech is a framework of 6 standards regarding our services and our workplace being LGBTIQA+ inclusive.
I've led a number of digital projects and I also manage all of Service SA's online content. We developed 2-factor authentication for account users, and also we built an online replacement licence transaction for customers impacted by the Optus data breach.
I've even got an envelope, I love it. I'm very pleased to announce that the winner of the Emerging Young Talent categories is Nichola Goult from the Department for Infrastructure and Transport.
A big part of my role is advocating for the customer. I've led a number of digital projects and I also manage all of Service SA's online content, such as our Service SA website and red and licensing information pages on sa.gov.au. Recently, when we've had to develop a number of security, that includes when we developed 2-factor authentication for account users, and also when we built an online replacement licence transaction for customers impacted by the Optus data breach.
Well done, Nichola. Our next category is Excellence in Service Delivery Individual. This award is for an individual for their exemplary service to South Australia and that their program, service or initiative has had far-reaching positive impact. And the finalists are...
My role is around the delivery of new housing and the maintenance for the housing across the APY. If we can make the houses more efficient, make more comfortable, there's this massive knock-on effect from good quality housing.
We've set up a new service where physiotherapists assess people with spinal conditions, and that's to free up the neurosurgeons. We used to have 700 people on the waiting list. It's now down to about 200. So helping them get the care they need, that's what drives you.
I lead a small team of planners in Plus, and we're responsible for the long-term planning for South Australia, which is really about how people are going to live in the future, where they're going to work, and where we're going to put house, employment, land, and then what kind of infrastructure people might need.
And the winner of the Excellence in Service Delivery individual category is Philip Hespe from the South Australian Housing Authority.
I look after the remote building and maintenance program up on the APY, and part of that role is learning about better technologies, better construction techniques, and making them appropriate for Aboriginal people that live in these regions. Talking to people, sitting down and understanding how people are using the houses, how they want to use the houses, trying to understand culture and the effects that has on the house. After we hand over a new house, we speak to them every 3 months just to find out what we could change.
Congratulations, Phil. Well done. Our next category is the Excellence in Service Delivery Team. This award is for a team for their exemplary service to South Australia and that their program, service or initiative has had far-reaching positive impact. And the finalists are...
The flood has been recognised as being the largest natural disaster event in recent history.
Our team quickly responded by designing arranging a relief covering recovery services for houses and business.
We're there to listen to their story, to give them confidence and give them hope.
In South Australia, there's over 15,000 teachers in public schools, and the Australian Science and Maths School has an outreach service that works with all of the. We provide a bespoke professional learning outreach service, custom to the teachers based on their context and delivered in their sites.
Operation Persevere is a collaborative and structured approach to the investigation and management of long-term missing people and unidentified human remains in South Australia. To date, we have reviewed 40 unidentified human remains investigations. 31 of those have been resolved.
And the winner for Excellence in Service Delivery Team category actually goes to the epitome of the public sector when we're faced in an emergency, how well we work together. It's flood recovery, and it's a joint award to the Department for Industry, Innovation and Science and the Department for Premier and Cabinet.
We met with over 500 business owners. We provided personalised and tailored response. We listened to individual needs and we provided solutions for complex cases.
The amount of public sector people that pitched in was just enormous. There's no doubt that people impacted and then recovering from a disaster is the epitome of when you can actually step up and show that you're there for the people. To help people in times of need is the core of being a public sector worker.
Well done to those teams. Our next category is Driving Innovation Individual. This award is for an individual that has demonstrated a commitment and support for new ideas and experimentation, or found new ways to solve problems to deliver for South Australia and its future prosperity. The finalists are...
My work involves looking to improve access to housing for low-income and vulnerable people. It's about making housing more affordable, easier to secure and protecting the right of tenants when they're in and they're low-income and vulnerable can come to us and seek assistance.
A lot of the innovation which I've done has involved development of novel radiation dosimeters, so small detectors that we could place on or even inside of a patient, development of novel phantoms, so motion phantoms, so that we can actually validate patient treatment techniques.
Short Rounds is a really unique forum. It's a place where all staff that work within healthcare can connect over a shared reflective discussion to be able to share their worst possible moments and their best possible moments with a group of people who just fundamentally understand.
And the winner of the Driving Innovation Individual category is Associate Professor Alexandre Santos from SA Health.
What I do is focus on the safety of patients' radiotherapy treatments. So trying to make them as safe as possible, radiating radiation oncology, radiation to nurses in the department to provide state-of-the-art safe radiation oncology. Advancing breath hold techniques is something we continue to do. It seems so simple and so practical, yet it has huge benefits to this one patient because their margins reduce and that means their organs at risk get less dose.
Congratulations, Alexandre. Our next category is Driving Innovation Team category. This award is to a team that has demonstrated a commitment and support for new ideas and experimentation or found new ways to solve problems to deliver for South Australia and its future prosperity. And the finalists are...
The Mental Health Co-Response is a partnership between SA Ambulance and Mental Health Services.
We respond to mental health consumers in the community, and we look at of treating them and providing them a good service in the community and trying to avoid hospital admission.
What we're most interested in is using the patient's own immune system to target cancer. We have a way of treating the cancer, and that is to take the patient's own T cells and drive them to the tumour.
We've developed South Australia's virtual power plant. It's a network of solar and storage assets installed on public housing properties. So currently participating families are saving around $560 off their electricity bills. That is the lowest electricity tariff available in South Australia.
And the winner for the Driving Innovation Team category is the Royal Adelaide Hospital Immuno-Therapies team from SA Health.
In the immune system to target cancer in 2 clinical trials. So one was using a radiotracer form of immune type, and the second was using CAR T cells. CAR T cells are where you alter the blood of the patient, and what you do is you genetically modify them with a virus so that they get redirected towards the cancer. So we've done this in 12 patients.
Another round of applause for the team. Well done. Our next category is Building South Australia's Economy individual category. This is for the individual whose project or initiative generates a significant positive impact on the South Australian economy and the South Australian SA's prosperity, generates jobs or economic diversification benefits for South Australia. And the finalists are...
South Australia has a really long history in gaming. For the last few years, we've really focused on growing. Last year, we opened Big Ant Studios and a AAA gaming studio to Los Angeles South. There has been years we reached just over $1 million in sales of a couple of games.
We saw the hydrogen sector as an opportunity to export the goods and services that go into the hydrogen sector. So we mapped all the goods and services that could supply. We identified over 2,000 South Australian businesses.
I'm trying to develop the seaweed industry in South Australia. We have the second largest diversity of seaweeds next to Japan. There's a huge opportunity with extracting from marine drugs, gelling agents and cosmetics. We fill the nation's need and probably more.
And the winner of Building SA's Economy individual category is Bettina Venner from Department for Industry, Innovation and Science.
Hydrogen is really important for the transition to renewable energy. In South Australia, we don't currently manufacture electrolyzers, but we do build things that can be housed. We do civil works, we do electrical integration, the transmission networks, we assemble solar panels. There are all these other goods and services that feed into that sector. And we identified over 2,000 South Australian businesses that could supply goods and services.
We are leveraging the natural resources what South Australia has and introduce these green credentials for stakeholders to let them develop their project for South Australians.
We've started implementing a plan to make sure that we have the right people with skills at the right time to build defence industry equipment, and that includes shipbuilding and it includes the SSN AUKUS submarines here in South Australia.
The industry engagement team, we connect with the employers and industry and associations from across Australia, and we help them connect with secondary schools and our students across the state. And the reason we do that is we want to connect with students early.
And the winners of the Building SA Economy Team category were equal winners. We could not decipher, so both will win today. The Defence Workforce Capability Team from Department for Industry, Innovation and Science, and the Industry Engagement Team from the Department for Education.
A big challenge or a big part of what we've done over the last 12 months has been, just working with all of the stakeholders involved and essentially working with industry to say, what are you already doing now as far as effort and investment in developing the skills of workers? At least 2 of the universities in South Australia have increased their number of STEM-related degree places, and through the Defence Teaming Centre, they're driving the Defence Industry Leadership Program. That has already attracted around 40 defence industry leaders.
Through the work of the Industry Engagement Team, we're connecting with industry and helping that industry connect with our secondary schools. And the reason we do that is because we want students to get that first-hand understanding and connection with employers early, so they can explore all the job and career possibilities available to them and make an informed decision around their pathway of choice. It's also good for our employers and our industries because they're able to tap into future talent, their future workforce, which is currently sitting in a classroom, which has a great contribution to the South Australian economy as well.
Congratulations to those 2 teams. Our next category is Leadership in Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Individual. The award is for the individual whose project or initiative contributes to building a public sector where everyone belongs and their uniqueness is valued. The finalists are
My role is connecting our consumers and community with our clinicians. Our services will be co-designed with them to ensure that they embrace kindness, and compassion, in respect, communication and shared decision making.
I have worked very closely with my team in the disability unit to implement a device known as Proloquoter Go. It's an alternative communication device that supports our non-talking students to speak. It allows our students to have a voice.
The Aboriginal community face a legacy of not being listened to, not being included, not having a seat at the table, not being heard, having an opportunity and a forum to do that through our work at DIT and some of our major projects has really had some great benefits for the community.
And the winner of the Leadership in Diversity, Equity and Inclusion individual category is Diana Smith-McHugh from SA Health. A happy bunch.
Role is connecting our consumers and community with our clinicians to support the service design, delivery and evaluation of our services, not now, but in future. We work with our youth advisory group and also clinicians in the mental health emergency services to design an app, the Your Crew app. It's a safety planning app all young people can use across our state to be able to wrap around the safety supports that they need.
Well done. Thank you. Now, in the same category, Leadership in Diversity, Equity and Inclusion team, the finalists are
We have wrapped one of our fire trucks. The sunflower with the green background was actually chosen by Hidden Disabilities as a easily recognisable but a little bit so that they can choose to self-identify as someone that may be living with a hidden disability.
The youth engagement strategy, it's a school within a school. We have a lot of students that have multiple entry and exit points, but the good news is they can come back to school, they can pick up where they left off and know that they've got an end point without outside influences of their lives beyond the all getting in the way.
We run a one-day Women in Leadership Symposium. We saw there was a massive opportunity with the FIFA Women's World Cup coming to South Australia to really embrace women's empowerment, girls' empowerment, and run a symposium during this event.
And the winner in Leadership in Diversity, Equity and Inclusion team category is the Yes Centre, Port Augusta Secondary School, Department for Education.
The youth engagement strategy is a part of our school. It's a school within a school. It caters for a range of students across the whole broad spectrum of our community. And we have a lot of students that have multiple entry and exit points. They might be away on sorry business, or they might have issues in their own personal life that stop them stopping school. But the good news is they can come back to school, they can pick up where they left off, they've got the same staff, and they can enter where they left rather than come in and try to pick up the difference.
Congratulations to the Port Augusta Yes Centre, Port Augusta High School. We've got our final category and 2 awards. This one, the next category is Connecting Communities Individual. It's for the individual whose work has made a positive impact on communities around South Australia, and the finalists are...
My main role was to implement and coordinate the dewatering program. We removed 45 gigalitres of water. It's about being able to connect the community with the resources and support that they need in a time when they need it the most.
Criminalisation of coercive control is going to work. There needs to be widespread understanding in the community, recognising that the impact of abuse is the loss of autonomy, the loss of freedom, so that people can label what they are being subjected to.
I do Aboriginal family history. The main role of that is to make that information accessible to Aboriginal communities. These records are vital because it connects people back to country and their ancestors and where they belong. It just gives back that pride of knowing who you are.
And it makes me so proud to announce that the winner is Ali Abdullah Highfield, South Australian Museum, Premier in Cabinet.
Record is vital for native title as well because it connects people back to country and their ancestors and where they belong. You know, if you don't have that, you walk around lost. I think it's very important now these days that, you know, those survivors of stolen generation can have that information there and it's easy accessible, you know, because all they want to know is who they are and how they belong to the country. It just gives back that pride of knowing who you are.
Well done, Ali. And our final category is the Connecting Communities Team Award. Again, positive impact on communities around South Australia, and the finalists are...
program is about understanding the needs and expectation of African women in childbirth.
It's just lovely to listen to them and hear what their experience has been and be able to change to embed back into our practice.
We've been working with the staff at Para Hills High School to apply the culturally safe curriculum practices. Para Hills High School has allowed the staff be able to work as a team and make the Aboriginal students safe in terms of their education.
There's a proverb in Africa, it takes a village to raise a child. Bringing that idea is empowering communities to solve the issues that they have, at the same time connecting them with the broader system.
And the winner is the Aboriginal Education Team, Para Hills High School, Department for Education.
We've been working with the staff at Para Hills High School. The impact it's had on the students is being able to get them to really focus on education. So last year we had the Aboriginal students 100% safe and be able to have 90% attendance and 90% C grade or higher. We've also got a program called the STARS program, and being able to work closely with them and being able to work closely with Aboriginal elders and bring them into the school as well.
Another round of applause. Thank you very much. That ends the awards part of the ceremony. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for the Premier joining us today. I know it's a very busy day for him. And I really appreciate you being here at this very special time for public servants celebrating all the good things that we do. Thank you, Premier. There's some photo opportunities happening as well. Big round of applause for the Premier and his wonderful speech. If you are a winner and you haven't already, please make your way to the media wall in the finalists gallery to see our production crew. And please also stay behind to get a group photo. The next thing that you'll have is a special interview that I did a couple of weeks ago with our guest speaker. And it was just an absolutely inspiring interview with her. It's Katherine Bennell-Pegg. Because nearly a year ago, in fact it was a year ago, it was a privilege to present her with my office's Woman of the Year award. On the same day it was announced that she was going to train as an astronaut. You'll hear more about it in a moment. Let me introduce Katherine. She's the Director of Space Technology at the Australian Space Agency and is part of a team intending to accelerate the transformation and growth of Australia's space sector by streamlining responsible access to space for Australian industry and researchers across all space priority areas. In her role, Katherine is responsible for access to space, including space transportation, space flight infrastructure, and human spaceflight, including microgravity payloads, applied space medicine, and life sciences. So here is the interview that we did, around 13 minutes. Enjoy your lunch. Hi Katherine, it's great to see you again after you won the awards last year. It was my office's Women of the Year Awards. You also went to claim the Woman of the Year Award overall. And then days later, you were actually announced as Australia's first ever astronaut candidate. So an even more incredible achievement. Today, we're doing the 2023 Premier's Excellence Awards ceremony, and fittingly, we're doing that on International Women's Day. You're there in Europe as Australia's first ever woman to be trained as an astronaut, and first ever Australian, actually, to train under the Australian flag. So I'm so proud as an Australian to actually see that happening. Can you tell us about the last year and what it's been like for you, and what have you learnt both on the job and about yourself?
Such an honour to receive those awards, and it really meant a lot to me to be recognised for my space engineering career and my contributions in the public service as well. It was actually the same day that I found out that I was going to be coming here to Europe to train here as the first person to train as an astronaut officially representing Australia. So it was a remarkable day, and it's been an absolute whirlwind of a year. And while, it may seem like my dream has already come true, this is really just the beginning.
What has been the highlight so far over the last year?
Oh my goodness, there's so many highlights. It's hard to pick, but day to day, I think my highlight has been spacewalk training. This involves getting in scuba gear and going under the surface of the water in a really large pool. And instead of looking down at the coral reef and fish, you're looking down at full-size mock-ups of the International Space Station and astronauts in spacesuits. And then you descend down amongst them and learn how to work in a microgravity environment, how to move safely around and complete missions like installing new scientific equipment. It's really incredible.
I imagine that excellence is something very familiar to you, and in particular, the heights that you've achieved. Can you share with me what excellence means to you and how you strive to achieve it?
A huge congratulations to all the finalists and winners of the awards today. I think you should all be so proud of your achievements. Imposter syndrome is something that's quite common when you're recognised for your deeds, especially if you're someone that's not used to being recognised. But know that you've been awarded these because you're worthy of them. I was certainly quite shocked and a bit of a deer in headlights when I received that OCPSC award last year. But be kind to yourself and know that you can use it to continue to deliver and inspire excellence in yourself and in others into the future. What excellence means to me has evolved over time. Astronauts are actually recruited for their ability to seek excellence. And this is something that I learned about later in our classes this year. Astronauts are not recruited at all for their ability to seek perfection. They're quite different, excellent, perfection. And that's a nuance that's often missed in that perfection is an outcome, and the chasing of perfection can actually lead to frustration and fear of failure when obstacles arise, whereas those who seek excellence are not at all afraid of uncertainty. They actually allow themselves to make mistakes, recover, and enjoy the process of finding solutions, which means you can become more relaxed in the face of pressure or complex environments and situations. And we focus on this in our training because it's really important that astronauts remain calm and productive in uncertainty, both in space and in training on Earth. Our lives depend on it. And I think, in exercising excellence, it's in a team that it can be the most impactful. No one really achieves excellence in isolation, even if it might appear that way. They're in an environment conducive to excellence. And when people further the ability of an environment to create and nurture excellence in others, increase the ability of others to pursue excellence, that is really worthy of recognition.
Katherine, you're a history maker, and the first to do something can place a big expectation on someone. I can imagine being the first ever woman to be trained as an astronaut, but also the first Australian to train under the Australian flag carries quite a bit of pressure. Many of the finalists and winners here that we're recognising at our Premier's Excellence Awards are also change makers and are doing things that have never been done before. So, Katherine, how have you managed the expectations and pressure of such a significant breakthrough for Australians and Australian women?
Well, it's such an honour to have this opportunity. I have to say, that when I received this flight suit with this Australian flag on the shoulder, it really meant a lot to me, not just for me personally, but for what a significant breakthrough this is for Australia, and particularly, I hope, for Australian women. It's really much bigger than myself, and that's because space is about the future, about creating opportunities for our scientists, our engineers, our researchers and our companies in Australia, and helping to build our workforce for the future. It's about fostering that spirit of aspiration. But, it's also important when I reflect on that I manage my own expectations of what I'm able to achieve on this training. I have to know that in managing my own expectations of my abilities, that I'm in the best place and doing the best that I can, and at the same time being true to my values in doing so, because it's never really an achievement if you don't remain true to your values. One interesting nuance actually about being here that keeps being reported, it keeps being stated that I'm the first Australian woman to be trained under the Australian flag, which is true, but I'm also the first Australian person to be trained under the Australian flag. And that's interesting because I think it's evidence of the fact that this is unusual. There are barriers to address in our society for women in STEM. In Australia, it's something like less than 27% of the STEM workforce are women. For astronauts globally, historically, it's actually less than 10% that have been women. And this is an issue not just because everyone should have the chance to dream, the courage to dream and think they belong, but when astronauts are in space, they're important medical test subjects for research that benefits those on Earth. So until we have an increased representation of women in space, we're not harnessing the full potential of what space can do for women on Earth either.
How have you kept pushing those boundaries and doing things that might scare you?
So yes, the risks of human spaceflight are also sobering. But as a space engineer, I know how much dedication and expertise goes into the vehicles that we're flying up there. And we take these risks for good reason. The discoveries that we can help make in space are unique. They cannot be made on Earth, and they're groundbreaking. And we're selected for our ability to operate in that environment on behalf of researchers on Earth. And only by doing things that scare you just a little bit can you progress your capabilities.
You've got two girls who are in Germany with you, who are obviously on an adventure of a lifetime. How do you devote time to these multiple roles?
Oh, they absolutely are. Yes, I'm so happy that they and my husband are able to be here with me in Germany and sharing in this experience. Being an astronaut can actually be really challenging for family life, not just when in space, but also here on Earth due to the really intense training and the schedule. And there's a lot of focus on supporting and including the family wherever possible. My daughters are 5 and 7, and they've been here in this training hall, which they call the astronauts playground. And they go to school and know the other astronauts' kids, which is great for them to be able to have that shared experience as well. But yeah, you know, kids, they have this beautiful naivety about the world where they see no barrier to do anything. And I love that. Half of the class I'm training with here, there's 6 of us. Half of us are women by merit, not by design. And you know, my kids don't see being a woman as a barrier to being a pilot, a scientist, or an engineer, or an astronaut at all, which is something I'm really grateful for.
Today we're recognising and celebrating the finalists and winners' achievements and commitment to serving the people of South Australia. Can you share with us how important the space industry is to South Australia and the impact it can make in each of these areas we're celebrating today? And in particular, how this might actually affect any emerging young talent?
Yeah, well, all of those categories really resonate with me. I think they're all so important to our state, actually. And space is relevant to all of them as well. South Australia has a really long and proud history in space, from the first rocket launches in the 50s through to being the home state of NASA astronaut Andy Thomas, to today, where South Australia's become known colloquially as the space state, and home to the Australian Space Agency, of course. It's one reason I moved back to Adelaide after spending most of my career overseas. There's also 80 plus related space organisations here too, which is just incredible. And this dynamism has meant that, you know, kids coming through today out of university, they don't have to leave South Australia to have an exciting career in space or STEM. And it's drawing in people from overseas, or Australians that left to go overseas, like myself and my family, to come and work here and help build the workforce that South Australia needs for the future. So while South Australia plays a critical role for space, it's also really important for South Australia. Because space at first, you know, can seem really niche, but actually it critically underpins our full society and economy. So having that capability in South Australia is great for our economy and our quality of life as well.
We're also celebrating those in the public sector who are doing their jobs whilst also epitomising and living the South Australian public sector values of courage and tenacity, service, professionalism, trust, respect, collaboration and engagement, honesty and integrity, and sustainability. You've talked a bit about values. They're very personal, but any of these values that resonate with you and your career journey?
All of those values are absolutely important to me because I think they can all be summed up by one of them, which is trust. Living those values, all of them, is what builds and maintains trust within and between teams. And actually, a lot of our training here at the European Astronaut Centre focuses on methods and lived experiences on how to swiftly and robustly build trust in teams, particularly to be able to cope with challenging or complex situations, because in space and in training, our lives actually depend on that. So ultimately, to live the value of trust, what needs to be done is to create an environment of psychological safety, which is when people feel safe enough to share their thoughts and ideas without fear of retribution, and to really pitch in and share their energy with everybody else. And to do that, you can't just say it. You have to demonstrate it and build that trust that it's really an environment of psychological safety. And I can tell you it really works. The team spirit here amongst astronauts is just phenomenal, and I really cherish it.
So Katherine, in closing, do you have one piece of advice for our finalists and winners about how they can inspire the next generation coming through?
My one piece of advice would be to know that you all, each of you, has an incredible capacity to inspire. Everyone can inspire someone, and you don't need a public profile to do that. You don't even need an award or a nomination. But what the awards can do, the awards of today provide you with, is the visibility and the credibility to have greater reach. So use that, use it wisely to contribute even more. And I think that when you're trying to inspire people to dream, to believe that they're capable of great things, they need to have the confidence to believe they can do these things, given sufficient time and effort. They need to have within their sphere of reach the visibility of possibilities and the education to have the knowledge to turn their dream or their ambition into goals. And I think that the ability to create this environment that enables aspiration is an important outcome of good public service for our communities. So what we all do as public servants every day is what makes it possible for people of all ages and all backgrounds to dream big. When I speak to kids, I ask them to reframe their ambitions, not just as what they want to be when they grow up. Rather, to ask themselves, what do I want to contribute? What do I want to help discover? What problems do I want to help solve? And what kind of person do I want to be as I do that? So yeah, I hope I can play a small part in this, just as all of you play a part as well.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful way to end the interview. I wish you really well. Enjoy the day because it's just beginning for you. And I'll watch with interest, but we certainly will keep in touch. Thank you so much, Katherine.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
She's doing amazing things and was just so gracious in giving us the time. And in fact, when she does return to South Australia in around April or May, I think so, the exams for her are in April. She has actually said she's very happy to return to speak directly, I think, to the public sector about what she's been doing. But she was an absolute inspiration you know, said she suffered from imposter syndrome. I'm there, oh goodness, an astronaut, but she was wonderful to talk to. Once again, we thank you to the team that did this with precision. I'm glad some teams got some photos with the Premier. Of course, he's got the state funeral, so apologies if we kind of fed you quickly, but we wanted to make sure that the Premier was here to give you the awards today. Once again, I'd like to congratulate, and remember we're here till 1 o'clock, so anyone that wants to use the gallery for photos, take your time eating lunch. I'd like to congratulate all the finalists. Don't forget to get to the finalist stage. It was, you know, a lot of people had put in, so even the finalists were very special, I think, in terms of the quality of what we had. And of course to our winners, so another round of applause for everyone that actually was a finalist. In the gallery there will be tea and coffee once you've had your lunch. Again, take your time and you can read all about the incredible achievements by our finalists in that gallery, and I think some people already did that before they came in. A reminder to all the finalists, collect your certificates on the way out. My understanding is it's near where we have the dialogue about your particular category, so go find that. And I've really enjoyed today. I hope you've enjoyed, I guess, the special time that we've made. We've had lunch, we've got a red carpet. I don't know what I'm going to do next year, but gee, it's going to be bigger and better. So it's, you know, this is the Academy Awards of the public sector. That's all I can say. Thank you so much for coming along. As the Premier said, we need to celebrate all the good work that people do day in, day out, and don't seek any kind of recognition or reward. Congratulations to everyone in the public sector, but most of all to the people that are in this room for all the great work that you do. Have a great day.